Well, good evening, everyone. I'm here to give you an update and showcase our Spanish immersion program. We're super excited about our program. This is the 8th year of our program. So our first cohort entered as kindergartners in 2015-16, and they are now current 7th graders. So our program is K7. Has Emily seen the PowerPoint, or did I need to share the screen?
I would share the screen. Emily, can you see the PowerPoint?
I can see it on the screen behind her.
That's okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So we have several program goals. For our students to effectively communicate in Spanish. So we want to develop students who are both bilingual and biliterate. We want them to acquire the same language arts and content area skills as students in our English only programs. And that's across 4 domains of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And we want them to acquire greater knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of other cultures. So here's some pictures from examples from our classrooms, our Spanish immersion classrooms at the primary and the intermediate school, where a lot of the classroom decorations are in Spanish. This is our enrollment by grade level. We have 45 students entering into the 22-23 cohort. And then we have a total of 266 students K through 7. And that's with 11 FTE teachers, 6 at the primary, 4 at the intermediate school, and 1 at the middle school. And students can enter the program in both kindergarten and 1st grade. So each year we have a handful of students entering the program in 1st grade as well. Here's some more pictures from the classrooms, doing lots of projects. You see the calendar there, all in Spanish. So our program staff, so we are always recruiting local candidates from the Princeton, Minnesota area. But we're also fortunate enough to collaborate with other programs that provide access to high quality teaching staff. And so a lot of our staff members are here today, and I'm just going to introduce you. So in kindergarten, we have 2 teachers, Carmen Sagade, who isn't here tonight, but Bea Sarita, she's one of our kindergarten teachers. In 1st grade, Cecilia Torregrosa and Jason Lansdale is, oh, there you are. So Jason Lansdale are the 1st grade teachers. Both Bea and Cecilia are from Spain, so through the visiting teacher program.
Where in Spain?
Where in Spain, Cecilia?
Alicante.
And then,
Alicante.
Ah,
And I come from Mallorca, from the Balearic Islands.
beautiful country.
and then in 2nd grade, and I know she was planning on being here too, Andrea Castro, 2nd grade, she's visiting teacher from Colombia. And then our other 2nd grade teacher is Yesenia Adams. And then our intermediate school teachers, we do have some different combo classes, but Nelly Ferreira is here from Mexico.
Nice to meet you.
Alice Hopper is one of our intermediate school teachers. And then Melissa Ramage.
I'm from exotic Maple Grove.
Nice to
from
meet
down
you.
the road.
And then Virginia Hernandez also from Spain. And then Andrea Castro, 2nd grade from Colombia.
Nice to meet you.
Andrea, where in Colombia are you from?
Villavicencio. Es como de 2 hours from Bogotá.
Okay.
Capital.
All right, I think we have one more family coming in. Come on, you guys. And then Pedro Valdivieso is our middle school teacher, and he's out, I think, coaching a football game tonight. Then as another part of our program staff are Amity interns. These are interns who come here through the Amity Institute, and they live with host families here in Princeton. And this year we have 2 Amity interns. So Juan Pablo Rosero from Colombia.
Hi.
And then Lourdes Alvarado from El Salvador. And then Lourdes is living with the Vikia family, and her daughters in our program. And then Juan is living with Carmen Klepsa, and her students are in the program. And then Carmen Klepsa is also our program support personnel at the intermediate school. Did I forget anybody? That's Melissa's husband and her kids who are also in the Spanish immersion program.
Carlisle's in 1st grade Spanish immersion. Lisa will be there next year. And this one has a couple years to go.
So that's our 22-23 program staff. This was us before school started getting together because teachers started arriving. Like, I think Virginia, you were the first to arrive in August. So we've had a fun time getting acquainted with our new staff and being in our new, like Melissa switched buildings from primary to intermediate. So it's been fun getting the school year going. Part of what both the MD visiting teachers do and our Amity interns do are different cultural presentations with the students. So this is actually Dario from last year. He did his presentation on El Salvador because that's where he was from. This is on the left there is an ofrenda from Mexico, which one of our teachers from Mexico did around Dia de los Muertos. So it's always fun that our students get to be introduced to all these different cultures when we have teachers and interns coming from all over the world. Here's some where Davey did last year from Colombia and Andres also from Colombia. So both Juan and Lourdes will do some of those presentations with our students this year, as well as our visiting teachers. Anything else about the cultural presentations that you would want to say or talk about that I missed? That's a big part of the program, introducing students in Princeton to all of the
I have a
different
question
cultures.
to, just with our utilization of technology and really be able to Zoom, if you will, with
Yeah.
anybody in the world.
Yeah.
Have we made many connections with other like students from different countries so our students can
Yeah,
talk with? Okay.
we have done that. I know several of the teachers have connected with classrooms, I think in Spain.
Yeah, we have planned to do that, right? I plan to do that with one of the schools that I was in touch with. I didn't make the agreement yet to the specific area that I'm going to do, but it's going to be something shared between our students here in Princeton and the students there in Spain.
One thing with Spain that is we have a big time zone difference, so when they're in school and when we're in school can be somewhat of well, we work it out.
Yeah, in my case, I'm trying to do the same thing with Mexico. We have the same schedule, so. it's
Yeah.
pretty easier. Yeah.
And Cecilia does a professions unit, and she came up with this idea. So we interviewed, what did we have, Cecilia? Ambulance driver, we had an EMT, doctor, all in different countries, teacher. So we actually interviewed, and then I had a friend who's in a band in Guatemala, so we interviewed him and then had a concert on Zoom.
Yeah.
So there is a lot, that's the great thing about technology and doing the language work, for sure.
So yeah, our students get to meet other students, their peers in other countries as well. One thing we started last year is that we had our students in the first two cohorts, so cohort 1 and cohort 2, they were the 5th and 6th graders last year, did some stamp testing. It's a language proficiency test. And our student scores were right within the ranges of the national averages in all those 4 domain areas, the reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And so our immersion students will continue taking a language proficiency test because we want to track how well they're doing in their acquisition of the Spanish language across all the domains in 5th grade, 8th grade, and in high school. So they'll take that test 3 different times. And then depending on their results of that test, they can qualify for what's called a Minnesota Bilingual Field. So this is a program through NDE where based on a student's language proficiency results, they can qualify depending on their level, either for a gold seal or for a platinum seal. And so that's what we expect our students, once they're in high school, they'll be able to take that test and then get one of these bilingual seals through MDE, which also then provides them credit within the MINSCU system. So depending on which level they qualify for, they would be able to get so many semester credits in the MINSCU system. So I know that's very valuable to students, when they're going into college to already have some of the credits awarded to them. So that's basically what I have as far as our program, but I can definitely take any other questions you have.
What do we got, board?
Are they here for 1 year or longer or?
Well, it varies. They can come for as little as 1 year, or they can stay longer. The visiting teacher program is for 3 years with an extension of up to 5 years. So this is Cecilia's 5th year in the program. So she's been here for 5 years. This is Bea's 2nd year in the program. This is Nellie and Virginia's 1st and Andrea's 1st. But yeah, I mean, we of course want them to stay as long as possible. And So just depending on their life situations, if we can make that work. I know for Carmen Sagade and Pedro, we're actually doing the HB1 visa process because they would like to stay even longer. So we're actually sponsoring that HB1 visa for them. Because in the case of the visiting teachers or Amity, they are actually the visa sponsors, not Princeton. So,
So it's really a case by case basis.
yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, we love our program. You can see our staff. We're super excited to come and show you, our staff and all of the parents who came with the host families, because it's a big job to ask somebody, to be a host for a year. So we're super appreciative of our families that agreed to do that.
So today was a big day. First day of school, and they all came after probably one of the harder days. Right, a lot of, I'm guessing, I remember what it's like as a teacher and even at me as a superintendent. I mean, it's hard to get a good night's sleep that night before you're all nerved up, right? Anxious, nervous for the new day. How did it go? Any reports out how the first day of school went? I know it was a little different at the different buildings, right? Because at the primary, not everybody was here, but I know at the intermediate, everybody was here.
There was a lot of excitement, a lot of confusion, but a lot of excitement. We did good. It was a good day.
We didn't lose anybody and everybody got one. I think for me personally, one of the goals that I would add to that is that I would like to see our community be a community that is ready for more change, because in other places in Minnesota, there are larger Spanish speaking populations, like over in like say Long Prairie, where we have relatives over there, 50% of their students speak Spanish as their first language. And so as more Spanish speaking people settle in central Minnesota, I would like us to be ready for that as far as having, these kids will be the ambassadors for helping new kids feel comfortable at school, and they are gonna be the Spanish speaking teachers and the Spanish speaking social workers and doctors who can help newcomers feel comfortable in our community. And like last year, I had a lady visit who used to teach in Texas, who worked with a lot of migrant farm worker families, and she was saying, just imagine what would that be like to go to the emergency room and you can't, and if you didn't speak the language, how would you tell someone what you needed, so I really encourage my students with, okay, you can be the nurse who speaks Spanish also, and help people as they're getting used to living in the United States or learning English.
One thing I wanted to mention on the enrollment, we know students come from outside of the district to enroll in our immersion program. So we know that we have students at every grade level who have enrolled from out of the district. And then we know that we've had some students actually come from other immersion programs. So this year we've had students coming from either Forest Lake or St. Cloud, some of the different immersion programs, and they've been like, oh, wow, we saw that Princeton has this immersion program and we're so excited because we're moving here and now we can enter in the program. So I definitely hear from parents when they're learning to find out more about the program that they're super excited that Princeton does have an immersion program. So I think there's a huge benefit to our district as well.
And to give, the board an idea, like, for example, in kindergarten, roughly, we're thinking 220 students total. And 45 students enrolling in the Spanish immersion is about 20% of our families choosing for Spanish immersion. And one thing that we wrestle with every year is growing it into that next year. Now, this year's 7th graders, next year's 8th grade, so every year we have several meetings throughout the year to prepare for that next step. And there's lots of planning and work that will need to happen now at the high school level for our that first cohort of students transitioning into the high school. And what does that look like?
Yeah.
And then the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
They're we hope to have a high quality solution.
And that's one reason for them taking that STAM test as eighth graders, because that will help determine their placement in their high school level Spanish course, you know, where they would best be suited. We probably will be offering for the first time in Princeton AP Spanish, so advanced placement Spanish, because that's what the students will be ready for probably by the time they're sophomores. So we'll be able to offer that, and then that's one of the tests that they can take in order to qualify for the Minnesota Bilingual Skills AP test. So it may not be the STAM test immediately.
Well, thank you
All
so
right.
much. Thank you all for coming this evening. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's Carmen's birthday. She came here on her
Oh,
birthday.
happy
Birthday.
birthday. And Phil, if you'd like to leave, you can leave, or you can stay. It's up to you, but don't think that you need to stay. You can go celebrate your birthday. And you need to get some rest, because the students are coming again tomorrow.
I just realized that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on. There are no citizens' comments, and we'll move on to board member committee reports, starting with Dawn.
I just had, attend the back to school kickoff last week.
I did as well and enjoyed the speaker really very much. Very impressive.
I did as well. I had agenda planning and the opening kickoff. I thought Ben's message was good in terms of being laser focused on the job of teaching kids. And I thought that was a good message, and I just loved the guest speaker. I thought it was very motivational, and I thought the vibe in the room was positive and exciting. Mhm.
I have finance reports.
Okay. All right, and let's see. Student council report, let's do that next.
All right.
And welcome, Winnie.
You want to introduce yourself to everybody and just share whatever you'd like everyone to know about you before you launch into your report?
Hi, I'm Chokewist. I'm a senior and I'm the school board rep from student council. So today I don't have a lot because we only had one meeting and we haven't had like the first day of actual school yet. But today was Link Day, which is where the freshmen obviously have their first day of school. And then the upperclassmen that are Link leaders help them integrate into the school. And I thought that went really well. I can't speak for like the other groups, but I know my group was attentive and I think they benefited from it. And then for student council specifically, we've just kind of been focusing on general themes for homecoming and picking dress up days and planning the pet fest and stuff like that. But I don't really have a lot to report because we haven't really gotten deep into it yet.
I'll reach out to you and we'll connect here in a meeting or something in the school day, just so we can talk. I try and do that every year with our students, rep on the board, just to talk a little bit about the role of the
Okay.
school board and those kinds of things. And then the last several years, I've had a student, a superintendent advisory group. And I'll talk with you and the other folks to see if we can get that up and running
Okay,
as soon as possible this year.
all right,
All right, cool.
Thank you, Winnie, and welcome.
thank you.
Superintendent report.
Lots going on. We had new teacher orientation. And that was a huge success. We have 20+ new teachers. Jessica and her team and the principals do a great job that week. And it was a lot of energy, and it really made me feel great about being part of our school district, and the fact that I mean, we had a lot of sincerity of people that just really felt blessed to be working here in our school district. And there was a lot of our new teachers are actually veteran teachers and came from other school districts, left a good situation to come and be with us. And it was great. It was, they shared lots of positivity. And they were impressed, and that made us feel good, right? And so it was good to hear some of those stories. Last week, we had all of our team members back in the district. And that was a successful week and lots of hard work into the orientations. Each building did something a little bit different as well with families and students. In addition to the site level meetings, they're getting their classrooms ready, their grade level meetings, the district events that we did. I do think that we do get a lot of positive feedback from our teachers that we wait until Wednesday to do the district work, which will allow them to focus on their classrooms the first couple of days, because that's where their head's really at. And we reflect on how we do it every year. We cram a lot of things into like a 4-hour period, and that's something that every year we run out of time. So we might have to figure out different ways to cut back on a couple of things. But that went well. Today was the first day of school. We had most of our students in the district, but there are some schools that not everyone was there. For example, the high school, it was just ninth graders today.
Yeah, ninth graders and then 11th and 12th graders are linked.
At Lincoln,
And then
Lincoln.
tomorrow is the first day for all sophomores and the first like normal day for 11th and 12th graders.
Is tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so tomorrow, today's a nice day to ease into things. Tomorrow will be a whole different situation because we'll be bringing in most all of the students, right? So with that first day of school, transportation is always a big issue. There's a lot of moving parts there. I'm sure that I'm not even aware of half of the situations because Michelle does a great job with Palmer to kind of buffer lots of that. But certainly we get some questions and things that we look at. But you take a look at every department, transportation's a big one right now. Food service is up and running, getting all of our students fed. IT, technology, distributing 3,000 plus devices to make sure that they're all working and everyone has their codes and able to get into the different programs that they need to. So that will all be, happening here. Nursing department getting up and rolling, teachers, paras, secretarial. So everybody's got different roles and responsibilities, and everybody does a great job to really do what we're here to do, which is educate our students. So we're feeling good, but every day this week will come with different challenges. Enrollment, I want to touch on that right now. We did talk a little bit about it at finance, but at this point, it looks like our enrollment is higher than what we had budgeted for, which is a good thing. I hesitate to give you a number because I know it's not going to be accurate, because it will probably be until next week, probably the end of the month, that we really feel like we have a good idea of the students that left. We tend to have a better idea of the new families because they come in and register, but we don't always get the information on a family that moved until sometimes later, unfortunately. But best case scenario, we could be up as many as 200 students from what we had budgeted for. So we'll wait and see, and we'll just keep you posted on that as we go. So I will end my remarks unless you have questions for me.
This came in the mail today from the district. I don't know if the rest of you have seen it, but I thought it was like super well done.
Yeah.
Was this from the district or community ed or?
That's from the district. One thing that I meet every week. I have a standing meeting just on communications. And we try and look at all the different delivery modes of communication. And we had cut back on mailers. And we were trying to find out, what's that we felt like we needed to do some, but we don't have the money, to spend monthly public or send monthly publications. So what we're gonna do is we budgeted for a quarterly,
That was my.
basically front and back that would go to every household
Okay.
in the district.
Mhm.
That would, and we will continue on with try and get a column in the Union Times written by me. We'll try and work with the Union Times on some feature stories, certainly continuing on with all of our social media and Tiger Times, and all the different things that we do. But yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's just a missing piece that we needed to get back doing.
I think this is important as we maybe look towards a building or bond, because it feels like there are older, non-children based that don't get those communications, then we can start feeding that information that way, maybe
Yep.
even in the next quarter.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I would, and as you can tell, the space is very limited, so we
Right.
need to be very strategic on what we get placed on there, so. I am always hoping to feedback from the board in terms of, how do we want to use that space?
Mhm, mhm. Maybe give us a heads up where the next one comes and we could do a little brainstorm about
Okay.
that. What might be a corner from the board somehow.
Okay,
Okay,
that sounds good.
yeah, good. All right, let's move on to number 7. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Jim, second by Eric Manx. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 8, we'll discuss and act on previous board meeting minutes from August 16. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Motion made by John. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Jim, second by Sue. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda motion carries. We'll move on to number 10, the information part of the meeting, and 10A is the first reading of policy. Don, do you want to address anything on the summary of changes?
So everything's pretty much listed there. That lease asset policy is something that Michelle came up because there's a new law that came out, and it will follow what our owned equipment will be like. All the other forms have gone to different committees or admin for the forms to be reviewed. And I believe finance did look at the substitute dollar amount tonight, so yes, we did. I think we're doing a good job of getting it out to all our different parties and making sure we dot all of our i's there, so.
Good. All right. Any questions for Don? All right, we'll move on to 10B, the safe return to learning update.
There really isn't a whole lot to share with you other than just let you know that we've adopted all of the changes from the CDC. And we've shared that out in our Tiger Times and on our website with our team members and our families. But it's less restrictive. There's no required quarantines if you're a close contact. You certainly, if you are symptomatic, if you're sick and have a confirmed case of COVID, then you're not to come to school. And once your symptoms subside and you're fever free for 24 hours, I think your 5th day after your first symptom, you would be eligible to come back, and we just ask each family to check with the nurses if they have specific questions on what those are. We won't be sending any notifications out to families on if they're a close contact. You will not be contact tracing. I would just share that that's how we're starting. And if we were to have any outbreaks or anything would change, then we would come back to the table and review our procedures. I mentioned that we're not intending to contact trace, but if we did have certain outbreaks in isolated areas, for example, one classroom, for example, and half the classroom, I'm just throwing out hypotheticals, then we certainly would say, okay, we need to communicate and we need to do some things there. So, and that would be more on a case by case basis. So we're just adopting really what the rest of our country has seemed to adopt, and we don't require face coverings. However, if someone would like to wear face coverings, we certainly support that. That's optional.
Any questions on that? All right, we'll move to number 11 of the action items. 11A is the video scoreboard. Would someone like to make the motion and then we can discuss it as need be? Motion made by Eric, there's second.
Second.
Second made by Jim. Is there any discussion or questions?
We talked about this at finance. Really, the board has already, I believe, approved this, but there's a modification to this document, which is in the bronze level. We're still selling those. And because we've already started some of our advertising and events, we felt like for this year only, we need to prorate that because those people will be missing out on some of the advertising. So we're just asking for this year only that bronze be moved to 600 versus 1200. That's what because we had the board vote on that before, and this is a change. That's why we're bringing it back to you.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There are no additions to the agenda. Future meetings are listed below, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Tim, second by Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.